Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Rafat. This is Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And you completed practice test number 10 in my online TOEFL course, and you have also paid for the additional service to have your essays grammatically corrected. And you're getting more feedback, more specific feedback with each of the writing practice tests that you complete. So let's get started. So first of all, let me go ahead and make the grammatical corrections first, and then after that, and I'll make some comments about your organization and your development and those kinds of things. The first thing I'd probably do here, in the first sentence, you have education is a good chance to know and discover. You say which actually many people cannot reach. Which means education. So the adjective clause, it needs to be placed directly after the noun it modifies. So then I would say this, and no comma here. I don't even think you need the word actually. Just say education which many people cannot reach by themselves, especially the university's education, comma, is a good chance to know and discover. How about new talents? The problem here is the word talent, or the word discover, is a transitive verb, which means it needs to have an object after it. So you have to be careful about that. You have, some people have different, and I'm going to change the verb here to the noun form, beliefs. Some people have different beliefs that it must be available for all. If you put the adverb clause at the end of the sentence, the comma I think is optional or not needed, although others, remember others is plural, so refute should be plural. Others refute this completely because of I'm not getting what you're meaning here. Others because of goodness, skills. I'm going to just correct your spelling there, but I'm still not sure what you're trying to say. Okay, let's move on. To me, I prefer open chances for all to prove their skills practically by being part of a university education. Okay, so I prefer open chances for all to prove their skills practically by being part of, maybe put here, a university education. The ability to learn is a teachable skill. Put a comma here and then maybe say this. And even though smartness is a high value, not all branches of, I'm going to say, a university education need these abilities. Okay, so I made some corrections here. Now I'm going to put in red. We may revisit these words again when we get to the end of this particular video. But right now, anything I put in red means it's some type of translation type issue. I'm not exactly sure what the word is that you're trying to say there. Okay, next paragraph. To make a university education is available for all. I don't think you want to say that. I don't think your verb needs to be this, gives. I think this works better. So this way, the infinitive is the subject and the main verb is gives. To make a university education available for all gives, I'm going to get rid of and just say equal chances, because chances is plural. You don't want to put an before plural nouns. And goes before singular count nouns. It gives equal chances I don't think you need to say fair. That makes it fair by making it equal, right? So gives equal chances for students to fill their goals. How about this? To fill their life goals. That's a little bit more concise. If possible, if you have the choice between using a prepositional phrase and a single word, go for the single word. Actually, I don't think works very well. Usually, actually, if you have an idea maybe which is different or contradicts a previous idea, you might use it. So if I said to you, it's hot outside, you go, actually, it's quite cold. So what you're saying is different from what I'm saying, but I don't see that as the relationship here. But you could probably use something like, therefore, maybe, a university education plays an important role among cultures, so that it is not a simple I'm going to say not a simple but a complicated process. Again, I'm making your writing a little bit more concise. To stand on an allegation matter proving its value is usually hard, but it is not impossible. This doesn't work very well. So what if I said this? To prove this point, in my country of Egypt, a person wanting to be maybe not say in my country of Egypt, just say in Egypt, because you say in my country of Egypt, it almost sounds like you're going to your own argument, and you don't want to do that quite yet. You want to discuss both positions first and then get to your argument. So you say, to prove this point, a person wanting to be successful will want to pursue companies. You might say something like that. So you said to stand on an allegation matter proving its value is usually hard but not impossible, but I'm giving you the example that can help prove the point that is being made in the paragraph. So this idea I don't think is really needed. You might use the word on the other hand. The reason you're saying on the other hand, because now you're going to the other position. Say on the other hand, to make, I wouldn't use it here. To make an education available only for good students, again, just use simple present here. If you're not sure, you probably want to use either simple present or simple past. Those are the two most common verb tenses used in academic writing. To make an education available only for good students improves the final product of the university's education process. The process of the university's education. Maybe you might want to say that. Professors can feel comfort to deal with the same skills, and it will be helpful to increase using university's facilities. We can be positive for a great future for our cultures worldwide because of the ability to find many inventions. I don't know. The problem here is your idea here is making education available for only for good students, right? And how that improves the university's education process. So I don't think that the examples you're using here help to support the argument that you're actually trying to make. Okay, so what we have to do here, Rafat, is you have to show, when you're discussing the professors, you have to make this connection about why they think the education should only be available for those good students. So you might say, professors for instance, you might say, so you remember I talked about this MBA degree thing earlier in the second paragraph? Well, you know what? I'm going to bring up that same idea but relate it to something a little bit different. For example, accounting. I'll say, for instance, professors who teach an advanced accounting class in an MBA program can feel comfort in dealing with students, all of whom have similar intellectual skill levels and it'll be helpful to increase the respect of and its facilities if they educate these types of students. Okay, now let's see what we have here. Let's take a look at it again. So we say, on the other hand, to make an education available only for good students improves the final product of the university's education process. For instance, Professors who teach an advanced accounting class in an MBA program can feel comfort in dealing with students, all of whom have similar intellectual skill levels, and it will be helpful. I'm going to say here and educating these types of good students will be helpful to increase the respect of the university and its facilities. We can be positive for a great future for our cultures worldwide. Toward this aim, as I use a transition, we can be positive for a great future for our cultures worldwide, because may help us to maybe something like this. I would talk as I'm typing, but to be honest with you, I can't really talk and think at the same time. I have to stop and think about what it is I'm trying to say. So let's look at this paragraph. So what we're trying to do here, Rafat, is to strengthen the development and the depth of your paragraphs. We're definitely trying to do that. So again, we have, on the other hand, to make an education available only for good students improves the final product of the university's education process. For instance, professors who teach an advanced accounting class in an MBA program can feel comfort in dealing with students, all of whom have similar intellectual skill levels, and educating these types of good students will be helpful to increase the respect of the university and its facilities. Toward this aim, we can be positive for a great future for our cultures worldwide, because these, I'm going to get rid of these and just say that's my subject, because affording an education only to good students may help us to find cures for tomorrow's diseases, as well as new innovations. So we'll say new innovations needed for new technology. So then we get to our next paragraph. So it says, in my opinion, this is good. So now we know that you're now getting to the last part of the question. So by using the word in my opinion there, that's a good cue, and it shows us that you're answering the last part of the question. So to give, I'm going to say, chances for all to enter, or how about to enter or be in, for all those to enter If you want to use that, I would say something like, or be involved in universities is very important. Even though it seems easier to teach, students of similar skill levels, I would say, now if you say even though, you can't use but. It's impossible. If you use even though, you're creating what's called a complex sentence, which means you're using a dependent clause and connecting that to an independent clause. So if you use but, you're using but to join two independent clauses together. So you have two choices here in your revision. You can get rid of even though and keep but, or keep even though or get rid of but. So I'm going to say this. Even though it seems easier to teach students of similar skills, it is hard to make an education process as a lazy ones. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to say here. This is going to kill you. I'm going to give you a lower score, but different from the IBT Human Rater who scored it at my website. I'm going to score you lower because of this sentence. But what is it that you're trying to say here? You're saying not all scientists became like this depending on their smartness, but many of them were normal, not unique and slow, according to their ability to teach. So I think that you're saying that not everyone is really smart. They're actually normal, but because of the professor's teaching styles, they were able to do well. I think that's what you're trying to say here, but it's just, there's just too many grammatical, not grammatical, but translation issues that are going on here. Let me go ahead and correct the grammar though. It is hard to make an education process I don't know, you might want to say because some students may be more motivated to study than others, and I think you're trying to say it may have nothing to do with their intellect. You might want to say, to illustrate, use this to introduce the example that you're trying to prove. So to illustrate, not all scientists become like this. Become like what? Become successful, right? Not all science become successful just because of their intelligence. You already used the word smartness earlier. Then you might say, not all scientists become successful just because they're intelligent, but many of them are normal, not unique, and slow. Succeed maybe in spite they succeed in spite of their limited intellectual abilities and because gifted teaching styles accompanied desire to learn. So you probably would say something like that. So I'm trying to make this paragraph a little bit better in terms of its depth. So let's see what we have so far. In my opinion, to give chances for all who enter or be involved in universities is very important. Even though it seems easier to teach students similar skills, it is hard to make an education process because some students may be more motivated to study than others, and it may have nothing to do with their intellect. To illustrate, not all scientists become successful just because of their intelligence, but many of them are normal, not unique, and slow. They succeed in spite of the limited intellectual abilities and because of their professors' gifted teaching styles. Accompanied with the students' desires to learn finally, you say, we can't give guarantees for making if we are interested to teach, I'm going to say, only to good students in universities. We must be fair and give the same opportunity for all. Okay, I think we got it. Now the next thing is we need to take a look at it one more time and make sure we have corrected all the errors. So I have made some changes in your essay. There were occasions, Rafat, where you needed to add more development of certain paragraphs, and you did have some problems with your sentence formation, as I pointed out in the editing of this particular essay. Alright, let's read it one more time. Education, which many people cannot reach by themselves, especially the university's education, is a good chance to know and discover new talents. Some people have different beliefs that it must be available for all, although others refute this completely because of goodness skills. And again, I still don't know what you're trying to say there. To me, I prefer open chances for all to prove their skills practically by being part of a university education. The ability to learn is a teachable skill, and even though smartness is a high value, not all branches of university education need these abilities. The next paragraph, to make a university education available for all gives equal chances for students to fulfill their life goals. Therefore, university education plays an important role among cultures, so it is not a simple but a complicated process. To prove this point, in Egypt, a person wanting to be successful in business will want to pursue an MBA degree in order to get a job at one of the top companies. On the other hand, to make an education available only for good students improves the final product of the university's education process. For instance, professors who teach an advanced accounting class in an MBA program can feel comfort in dealing with students, all of whom have similar intellectual skill levels, and educating these types of good students will be helpful to increase the respect of the university and its facilities. Toward this aim, we can be positive for a great future for our cultures worldwide, because affording an education only to good students may help us to find cures for tomorrow's diseases, as well as new innovations needed for new technology. In my opinion, to give chances for all to enter or be involved in universities is very important. Even though it seems easier to teach students similar skills, it is hard to make an education process because some students may be more motivated to study than others, and it may have nothing to do with their intellect. How about this? Maybe it'd be better to say, and the success of these students probably would be better to say. And the success of these students may have nothing to do with their intellect. To illustrate, not all scientists become successful just because of their intelligence, but many of them are normal, not unique, and slow. They succeed in spite of their limited intellectual abilities and because of their professors' gifted teaching styles accompanied with the students' desire to learn. Finally, we can't give guarantees for producing the best, most highly educated students if we are interested to teach only to good students in universities. We must be fair and give the same opportunity for all. So there we go. So now the question is, what would your score be? So the question here is based on this, if we go to the rubrics, I'm going to pull them up right now. Now I know that my IBT Human Rater gave you a 375. I'm going to probably score it. I think he's pretty accurate, but I'm probably going to score it a little bit lower than that. I'm going to say you have some problems with sentence formation and word choice that makes your ideas and meanings unclear. He agrees with me, and I think his name's Nate, right? So Nate gave you 375. I'm going to score you at 3.0. We're still in the same range, which we're pretty close, but I'm going to score you a little bit lower at 20 points out of 30, especially due to some problems with your sentence formation and your word choice that do make your meaning and ideas unclear. There were a couple of instances in your writing where I could not understand what it is that you were trying to say. Okay, does that make sense? So I would say one thing you want to be a little bit concerned about right now is continue to work hard on developing your vocabulary skills, and you also want to spend some time understanding the basic nature of a sentence. A sentence has to have a subject and a verb in it. Alright? Anyway, thank you for doing the practice test and keep up the good work.